Hi, you guys. Welcome to my live on Craftsy today. I'm so excited you're here. If you're here, let me know. Say hi. I love, if you've been to my live events before, you know I love to hear your name and where you're from. And it's just really fun for me. I usually, we get people from all over the country, all over the world, and it's fun to share back and forth. So thanks for joining me. We're going to talk brunch today. We have Easter coming up. We have Mother's Day coming up. And I feel like spring is just a time when brunch comes back. I mean, there's the holiday season, but spring is just festive. The flowers are blooming. I have some things out front. I'm not sure what flowers they are, but they're purple and they're really pretty. So it makes me feel like the days of 20 and 30 degrees are behind us for now. We shall see. I know there's some storms in the country though. So we're going to do a brunch recipe. I'll talk about what I think goes well with the recipe, whether it's a store-bought side dish that you get or some of the other recipes that I have on my blog. And as I go through, feel free to ask questions, substitutions. I love to be able to make my recipes super versatile. So if you say, hey, I don't like that, or my husband doesn't like that, or my kids won't eat that, what can I do? Happy to oblige and give you what I think will work. And for those of you who don't know me, so I am a food writer, cookbook author of 11 cookbooks. I do classes for Craftsy. I have many, many, many already up, and I just filmed 2 new classes about 3 weeks ago. I'm doing another one next week. I was on Food Network for 5 years. Those shows are running on Discovery Plus and Amazon Prime. I put recipes on my blog and my website pretty much daily. There's new content. Yeah, and I write for Tasting Table and Mashed and that kind of thing. I wear a lot of hats, and I'm a nutritionist. So that's a little bit about me for those of you who don't know me. Those of you that do, welcome back. And I'll start cooking. Let's see if anybody's here. I saw something pop up on folks that might be here, but it's not there anymore. So I'm going to talk to you about this breakfast bread. I'm getting some heat under this pan. This is one of those show-stopping dishes that looks really fancy, but it's really super easy. It's almost foolproof. It is foolproof. You need a handful of ingredients. They're all readily available. It looks like you've used a lot of ingredients and it comes together very quickly. It's prep ahead friendly. You can make it in advance and reheat it. It's got all the things you want for brunch. But even if you wake up and start the recipe, it's still start to finish. You'll have it ready in about 45 minutes. That's how easy it is. So I've got the pan getting hot, and I want it hot because I'm going to cook some sausage first. First step in this recipe, if you're following along, you have the notes, is to brown some sausage in a pan. That can be really any kind of sausage, but since this is a brunch dish, I am using breakfast sausage. So looks like this. It's ground. It's not with the casings. If you find sausage with the casings on, just remove them. We just want the ground meat here. But you can use Italian sausage, you can use hot sausage, you could use chicken, vegan, or plant-based sausage. Really anything works. I found, one of those 16-ounce tubes of breakfast sausage at my local grocery store. So that's what I used the first time I made it, and everybody loved it. So that's what I'm going to use today. I can feel the pan is hot, so I'm going to get the sausage right in. Let's see if I haven't seen any messages yet. So if you reached out, I didn't get it, but if you wanted to say hi. So we're gonna get this right into the hot pan. You see, I didn't add any oil because there's fat in the sausage. You can see the flecks of fat. So you shouldn't need oil, but have it on deck just in case you have a leaner variety of pork sausage. You can use a non-stick skillet, a regular skillet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cook the pork so it's browned all the way through. We'll remove it from the pan. Then we're going to cook some eggs, and then we're going to assemble the whole thing together. So while this is browning, I can talk about the other ingredients that go in, but let's just spread it out. So if you ever see recipes, they'll say, brown the meat in a pan, breaking up the meat as it cooks. This is what it means, breaking up the meat as it cooks. And as the fat is released from the sausage, it'll start to, see it's sticking to the bottom of the pan a little bit, it'll release. I've just made one of these 20 minutes ago, so I have the process pretty much down. I have a finished one for you to look at. So feel free to send me any questions as we go through. I can talk and cook at the same time. I'm Italian, so you got that part figured out. Cooking, talking, laughing, vino sometimes. You know, we can talk with our hands while we cook. So we're breaking up the meat. Same. I keep looking up to see if there's a comment, but I think there were and they went away, so maybe we're having a glitch. So I'll just leave it for now. So while this is browning, I'll talk a little bit about the bread dough. That's what we're going to use to make the braid. We're going to use store-bought frozen bread dough, thawed. So this is what it looks like thawed. This was a 1 pound loaf of white bread dough. I use Rhodes bread dough. It's available in every store. It comes like 5 1 pound loaves in a bag. They also have dinner rolls. You could do, I think it's 15 to 20 dinner rolls would equal one of these loaves. But you can also use store-bought bread dough or pizza dough works as well, but you need a pound. That's what you need. And if you're going to use the frozen and not a fresh pizza dough, remember to pull it from the refrigerator or pull it from the freezer either the night before, so it thaws overnight in the refrigerator, or put it on the counter for whatever the package says. It's usually 5 hours, 3 to 5 hours. So that would be the only prep ahead thing you have to do is take something from the freezer and put it in the fridge, or take something from the freezer and put it on the counter. That's your prep ahead. Not a big deal. But that is what you have to do to get the dough ready. Unless, again, you're using a fresh bread or pizza dough from your grocery store, which I've noticed now everybody sells some version of a pizza dough. Sometimes it's a half pound, sometimes it's a pound. I see hi from Ontario. Oh, it just went away. I think we might be having technical difficulties with the chat. Let me see if I can I fixed it, or somebody did. All right, we've got Margaret. Hi, coming from beautiful South Carolina. My brother lives in Charleston. I know that it is beautiful. This is Alondra from Oklahoma. Hello. Or it might be Alexander. Sorry if you guys don't have my reading glasses on. If I mess up the name, I apologize. Nancy from Oklahoma. Diane from Southern California. Beautiful. We've got Margaret. Love every one of your cookbooks. Thank you, Margaret. It's a lot. 11. I feel like I have number 12 in my brain somewhere ready to go. I do love to write cookbooks. It's one of my favorite things to do. We've got Midge. Hello from New Mexico. I lived in Arizona for almost 20 years, so we were neighbors. And we've got hi from Ontario. This looks like a cool recipe. It's really cool. It looks fancy, but it's not. It's not hard to make. Okay, so now that the pork, you can see, is all brown. I've got some deliciousness stuck to the bottom of the pan. I'm just going to transfer the pork to a plate. I'm just going to set it aside until we're ready to assemble. And if you follow the recipe, you'll see that it says if you don't have any oil in the pan, to add some. You're going to need a couple teaspoons of oil for the eggs. So mine, let me get a spoon to scrape up so it doesn't burn when I add the eggs. But yeah, it looks like this was kind of a leaner pork, so I'm not going to have enough grease in the pan for the eggs. So I'll just add some. I like olive oil, but any oil, if you like avocado oil or vegetable oil, even butter, just something to coat the pan for the eggs. Mary from Palos Heights, Illinois. Fabulous. Welcome. Did I miss? Oh, we got Debbie from Illinois. I think that's Debbie. Sorry if I'm butchering your names, but it's if I put my glasses on, they're good for reading, but then I won't be able to. You know what I mean. Okay. So now I'm going to turn the heat down because we want it to be medium to medium low for the eggs. And I'll just let the pan stay hot. This recipe calls for 4 large eggs, so we'll get those into a bowl. It's 1. And these are room temperature eggs. Room temperature eggs tend to cook better. They, especially if you're doing like batters, cake batters, Cookies, they incorporate better into batters and doughs, but I feel like they also fluff up better as well when they're room temperature. All right, 4 eggs and 2 tablespoons of milk. That can be skim milk, it can be whole milk, whatever you have. Just gonna season with a little salt and pepper. And the sausage has salt. We're gonna add some Rotel tomatoes that has salt, so I'm not gonna go too heavy. And we're adding cheese, which has also got some salt. So we'll give this a little whisk. Hi from Dublin, Dublin, Ohio. Formerly from Tucson, Arizona. Nice. Oh, and Margaret talked about my Cook Once, Eat Twice cookbook. That's awesome. Everybody loves that. Quick Fix Meals was kind of the same thing. Cook Once, Eat Twice. Hi from Maine. Hello from Maine. Somebody from LA. Hello, Vicky. Vicky's from LA. We've got, well, that's my son texting, which I thought I had. The only people that can text me during these live shows, because I put it on Do Not Disturb, but my kids, they always seem to pop through. All right, so, but that was hi, Luke. And we've got from Alberto, currently visiting from Hawaii. That's wonderful. So you're in Alberto visiting from Hawaii. I think people usually go the other direction, right? People still say that to me. I've been on the East Coast for 3 years, and they say, wait, you went the wrong direction from Arizona to Pennsylvania. But I love it. And Hawaii is beautiful too. Okay, so the pan is hot. I added a little bit of oil because, as I mentioned, there was not a lot of grease left over from the pork, but you need about 2 teaspoons. Get the eggs right in there. We don't want the pan too hot. We want the eggs to be cooked, but still moist. So that's why I turned the temperature down to about medium. And as I'm stirring the eggs, I'm going to pick up any of those browned bits that are left over from the pork. I'll use like a more sturdy spoon. Margaret mentioned my cook once, eat twice concept. Ironically, I write for Tasting Table. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that platform. It's a kind of a foodie destination. There's recipes, but there's also articles about the best burger or all kinds of different things. So I was asked to write about what it's really like to work for Food Network. So that's my next column that I'll be working on this week. I have a lot of behind the scenes things that I've never talked about. A lot of day-to-day stuff that I still think as if it happened yesterday and it was 10 years ago. So I'm excited to share that article. That'll be fun. So this I'm cooking these low and slow. We just want them soft, still moist. Let's see if we've got, hello, Melissa from Michigan. Now I have a question. Would you put out eggs on the counter the night before? I mean, some people don't put their eggs in the refrigerator at all. So that's really a personal choice. I just pulled them out 30 minutes before I use them. But as you know, it depends where a lot of people, I feel like some people leave their butter on the counter. Some people leave their eggs on the counter. I refrigerate the eggs. Oh, it looks like we froze. Let's see if we froze everywhere. What does this say? Oops, connection was lost. I can bring the connection back. We'll try. We'll see. Because we need the overhead so you can see me do the braid. But I can fix it. All right, so the eggs in here. Hello from Central New York. Awesome. Beautiful. So to this, I'm going to turn the heat off because I don't want the eggs to dry out. I'm going to add a can of Rotel tomatoes. I got the original. You can, Rotel has a whole line now of different things. They have a hot version. They have different additions and different ingredients in there. I'm just using the original mild, which still I feel like has a little bit of a kick. So Rotel tomatoes, 2 green onions. So this is kind of gives it like a fresh pop of color and definite pop of flavor. If you want, oh, we got our connection back, yay. If you want, look how pretty this looks. And this is going to peek out of the braid. You can use regular diced tomatoes, petite diced tomatoes, but note that a can of Rotel tomatoes is 10 ounces. And usually the can of diced tomatoes is 15. So it's going to be too tomato heavy. So just use a little bit more than half of the can and save the rest of the tomatoes for something else. If you're going to sub in something other than Rotel. Isn't this pretty? So we've got the eggs. And the Rotel tomatoes are going to have green bell pepper, some seasoning. So that's why it's a one-stop shop. And they're going to keep the eggs moist. And the green onions just add sweetness and a mild onion flavor. All right, the heat is off. So I'm going to move this to the side. And I'm going to show you how to make the braid. So I've got a big baking sheet. And I'm going to wipe this down. What I like to do for this recipe is either use a nonstick pan like this one, or definitely you want to put down either a piece of foil that's been coated with cooking spray, or you can use a piece of parchment paper once you've rolled out the dough. So you would roll out the dough and then put it on the parchment paper. Otherwise, it's just going to push the paper around. So I like to use my hands. You want this to be maybe like a 9 by 12, a 10 by 12. But you could also use a rolling pin. Let's see if we have any more questions. Hello from Texas. Hello, Carolyn from Texas. Hello from Bakersfield, California. Lena, hello. So I'm just going to get this spread out. You don't need to measure, but you do need room for the filling. So I will use my hands. Get it stretched out. And again, I just made one of these about 20 minutes ago, right on, well, a similar pan. And I used my hands, so you'll see what it looks like. Any questions about the filling so far? I think I got all the hellos. I just want to make sure I don't miss anybody. If you want to do this meat-free, you can certainly do that. I would swap in 4 more eggs. Take out the sausage, put in 4 more eggs for a total of 8. And that would be the perfect amount of filling for the dough. See, I'm glad we got the overhead back. You can see we need it. So just have fun with this. So this does not need to rise again. I want to make sure that you note that. This is one of those where because if you look at the directions on the bread dough, it's going to say for making bread, it'll tell you to pull it, to thaw it and then let it rise. We're just thawing it and we're keeping it cold until we assemble, which we're almost about to do. And you see, if I was doing this on a piece of parchment paper, it would be flying all over the place. And potentially foil. So that's why I like to do it right on a non-stick pan or on like this marble surface right here, and then move it and stretch it again. So I, just for fun, have a ruler. So we are at about 9 by 13. So that's about right where you want to be. The instructions say 9 by 12, but right in that, it doesn't have to be perfect. Right in that range is going to be good. So we've got the pork that we already cooked, and that goes right down the middle. And I like to leave any grease on the pan, on the plate, rather than pour it onto the bread dough. Okay. Get rid of that plate. I'm going to line this up down the middle. We have a question from Kelsey. How do I keep the bread from getting soggy? Well, because we're going to cook this right away. So we're not going to let it rise. This is just going to go right on and then go right into the oven. That's why it doesn't get soggy. And the oven's already preheated to 350. So it doesn't sit around. It doesn't rise. It rises in the oven. Okay, now we have hope that answered your question there. Now we have that egg mixture. Goes right on top. This is just pretty anyway. Isn't it pretty to look at? just knowing that this filling is in there, and I can smell the tomatoes, the fresh green onions. We've got sweet tomatoes, vibrant green onions, moist eggs that are not dry and crumbly because they were cooked over medium heat, and now they have the tomatoes to keep them that way. Okay, so this gets right down the middle in a line. And you see I'm leaving about 1.5 inches on the sides, and that's where we're going to create the braid. Any other questions so far? We got hello from Italy, Barbara. Hello. Hello from Italy. That's awesome. Okay, now clean my hands. On top of this, I like to do cheddar cheese. I like the combination of the sharp cheddar with the sweet tomatoes, but really your favorite cheese variety works. You can use a Mexican cheese blend. You can use Monterey Jack, mozzarella, a combination of cheeses. American even works, whatever you like and your family likes. But I think I like the sharp cheddar. And the recipe calls for a cup. So we've got that right over top. Now here's where the fun part begins. So I'm going to move everything into the pile in the center. Make sure my butter, it looks like my butter. That's how cold I keep my kitchen. It firmed up on me. Okay, so you're going to take a pizza slicer and you're going to make a bunch of strips down either side. These are about 1 inch apart. Again, does not need to be accurate. And it doesn't even have to be the same place on the other side. Just go for it. Don't worry about it. Honestly, you can't mess this up. I've overstuffed it and it's been fine. I just stretched the dough a little more. The key really is getting it rolled out big enough. That's really the key. Let's see if I missed any questions. I don't think so. We got Texas. Okay. So we're going to start picking up either side. So the one side goes up, crosses over, the next side comes up. Oops, stuck to my finger. And crosses over. And as you get down the line, you'll see you can start to tuck the pieces underneath. Whoops. Here's how foolproof this is. You don't have to worry about that just broke, because this will cover it. I stretched it a little much. This piece goes over. This piece goes over. Because it's like a mummy. And as it bakes, it puffs up and fills in any ugly parts. Any pieces doesn't it kind of look like a mummy or a braid? I'm going to pinch the end here to seal that end. I just fold it up. Okay. Up, over. I braided my hair for the occasion today. This is a braid day. Okay. Again, this will puff up and fill in. Let's see, we have Lisa. What if my dough cracks or tears while braiding? I'm worried about the braid looking nice. Well, you can see mine just did. And this piece just ripped off over here. And I just pulled up from the other side and I was able to cover it. And you can play around with it. So that piece that was here that tore is now covered. And as it bakes, it puffs up and fills in. So I do not worry about pieces breaking. But definitely, just make sure it's rolled out big enough for the filling so you don't have to pull too tight. And then know that you can patch things up as you braid and as it bakes. And I'm also going to coat this with butter, which is another way to kind of get in there and fix things. So you saw mine ripped and you can't see it now. And you might do a better job than I just did because, you might take your time, unlike me, going down the line very quickly. All right, so this is about a tablespoon of butter that melted in my kitchen, but I'm just going to brush it on. But it should be completely melted. It'll still be fine. You can also use olive oil. In fact, I'll show you. That's what I'll do. I'll use olive oil so that I don't pull on the dough by trying to get the butter. But the butter, if you're using butter, just use melted butter. And this helps seal the dough and also adds a nice sheen. And I know you said you want yours to look nice. I don't mind when little pieces of cheese pop out and bake into the crust, but this is a time when you can brush them off if you don't want the cheese, if you want strictly Braid. And you can see, if you see the picture, I took that picture of the sample one for this live event. That one was perfectly clean. I got all the cheese off. The Braid was perfect. I took my time, and that was me. I mean, I did that one and I photographed that one. So you can just take your time and clean it up after the Braid is made. So there. So I don't know if you can really see, because from the one side, so you can see the Braid. Let's turn it so you can see kind of all the different angles. So this goes into the oven. If you want to prep ahead, if you want to assemble it and get it to this point, you can pop it in the refrigerator now that all the fillings are cool, and you can do that up to 24 hours in advance. I recommend just baking it and reheating it though, just to make sure that the dough doesn't rise, because it's going to rise in the oven. Otherwise, if it rises too much, it'll separate and you'll lose your Braid. So the oven is preheated to 350 degrees. This goes in for 20 to 30 minutes, depending on your oven. Mine took 25 minutes, and I will show you what it looks like. Let me see if I have any other. I'm going to see if I have some other questions too before I take this away. Hello from London. Hello, UK, from Julian and Kozia. Sorry about that if it's wrong. And Margaret said, oh my goodness, that's going to be so good. Yes, it is so good because the cheese melts and everything's so delicious. Thanks. I see you put it together helps. Does it fall apart when slicing? No, because it all bakes together and kind of seals. In fact, I'll slice one for you if you want. Can you turn it into individual portions instead of one big bread? I would say, and that question was from Riley, I would say, I would do the whole big bread and then slice it up to reheat it maybe. But I feel like having a bunch of individual portions of the Braid, it would be so much bread for filling. My first thought was, could you do dinner rolls, frozen dinner rolls, thaw them and make pockets? But I still think you're better off just making the full loaf and slicing it. And maybe if you want to serve it already sliced, just line them up on a baking sheet and reheat them. Maybe put some more cheese on top of the sliced pieces. I think that would be the way to do it. So do the whole bread, which would be a lot less work anyway. Bake it as instructed. Once it's cool, slice it, flip them on the side, top with more cheese, and bake that 350 for 10 minutes till the cheese melts. I think that would be like a really good solution. Elizabeth said it looks delicious even though it's not cooked, but I'll show you what it looks like cooked. Got one that just finished. So I'll slice this for you. I think what I want to do, I'll put it on a cutting board. I did not cook it on this pan. I moved it to this pan thinking I was going to run out of room on this counter. That's why it's sideways like that. But I used the same pan that I just used for the demo. And we'll get it to a cutting board, and I'll use the pizza slicer. And you can see that once it's given a little bit of a chance to cool, in fact, I'll be able to pick up this whole thing and it won't fall apart. Beautiful. Oh, it smells so good. The cheddar cheese, the bread, all those flavors that go to, all those flavors and aromas that go together. Let's see. Okay, no more questions. I'm not missing anything there. All right, so I'll just slice across so I can show you the inside. And I'm using the pizza slicer because it's handy and also super sharp. See how it didn't fall apart? Because the cheese kind of binds everything together. You can see the bread rose. The braid looks really pretty. I like to garnish this sometimes with more green onions or a pop of parsley, green parsley, or I'll put some pesto on the side. I like adding something green when I serve this. So I think it was Riley who said, can you do individual portions? So what I would do, Riley, is this is what I was saying. I would cut the pieces into individual portions, like maybe this size, line them up on a baking sheet like that, with the meat side, with the filling showing. So like that. Oops, my head's in the way there, sorry. So I would line them up like that on the baking sheet, put more cheese on top, and reheat them, or do this in advance and reheat when you're ready to serve. That way you've got the individual portions with a little extra cheese. I think that would be a great idea. That would maybe be a solution for you. If that's what you're thinking, it'd be easier to serve than slicing. But coming out with the braid, though, is a super great presentation, I think, especially because it's not hard to make. I'll talk about, nobody asked, but what I like to serve this with, because it can be a standalone meal. I've served it to my boys, and that's it with some sliced fruit. But if this is going to be part of like a spring brunch spread, I do have some favorites that I like to serve with it because it's cheesy and it's meaty. I like to serve, I have a crisp cucumber salad that I love to serve. That's on my website. I have a regular version, like the classic cucumber salad with red onion. I also have an Asian cucumber salad that's fantastic. It's got a little bit of an Asian twist, some of those flavors. I have a big fruit salad also that I have, and it's got like a citrusy kind of vinaigrette that keeps the fruit zingy and fresh tasting. So I have fruit salad that I love. And then anything else that, like, I tend to go on the lighter with the sides when I do something like this. But if you're having a gathering and you want to do, you can do more egg dishes. I have frittatas, I have quiches. So we have a couple of egg dishes there. I just reposted a banana pudding that I love. So it's layers of the vanilla cookies and banana and a creamy pudding, layer, and then whipped cream. And then you've got that sweet element for afterwards. So if you're going to have a bunch of things out, I think those are the kinds of things that marry really well. Something with fruit, like a crisp kind of a salad, and then something sweet for dessert. Brownies are always welcome at brunch time, cookies and brownies. And they also keep well. So if nobody eats, if there's leftover brownies and cookies, they can be stored in the freezer for 3 months. So those are the kinds of things that I like to pair with this to round it out to be a nice spring brunch. Easter, Mother's Day. If it's Mother's Day, I would do something like this and put flowers on the tray. So there's many ways to kind of either turn this into a spread for a party or just jazz it up for the family, just on a random Sunday. So I think that, I don't want to forget how I would round this out. Do we have any other questions or comments? It's fully cooked. That took me 34 minutes and I was chatty. I did have the bread thawed, obviously, but 25 minutes in the oven, maybe we'll call it 20 minutes of prep, 25 minutes in the oven. So 45-minute brunch dish. And you may have a lot of the items that you already need. So if you don't have Rotel tomatoes and you have diced tomatoes or fresh tomato, you can throw that in. If you have cheese that you love, that's not cheddar, that can be used. The only thing maybe might be the bread dough, but since they come in loaves, like the Rhodes that I buy, there's 5 1-pound loaves in there. So I must always have a loaf or 2 in my freezer ready to thaw. And then you can just see like the possibilities are endless on how you can vary this. You can make it meat-free. You can use different meats. I've done one with bacon, so I've added more eggs, and then I'll do some chopped bacon, leave the sausage out if I'm more a bacon fan. Ham, my son loves ham, so sometimes I'll swap that in. Again, I'll double the eggs and do some frizzled ham or some crispy bacon to make it a completely different braid. Yeah, let's see if I missed any questions, any other comments. Everybody told me where they're from. So, yeah, I got you. I see the OMG, Margaret. That's awesome. I'm finally seeing that one. And yeah, I think it's helpful to see Lisa mentioned putting it together, because a lot of times these things look so fancy. You think, I mean, the picture looks so good. You think that, oh, a food stylist must have done it. But you just saw, and you saw how sloppy it looked in the beginning, but you see how it comes together at the end when it bakes and it fills in, and you end up with what looks like a braid, when really you're just pulling pieces over. You're not braiding them. You're just slightly overlapping them to cover the filling, and it fills in as a bake. So the oven does all the cleanup work for you. And I love that. Elizabeth, thank you, says looks delicious. Anybody else? Any other? I mean, it doesn't have to be about this. If you have any other things coming up, like Easter questions, Mother's Day questions, Mother's Day's coming up, or anything else, even if it's a weeknight meal. I have the 2 classes that I just did for Craftsy are going to be super fun. One is gourmet made easy. So it's like dishes that I think a lot of people are afraid to make, like beef bourguignon, coq au vin, bouillabaisse, tiramisu. Those are dishes that I think people are intimidated by. So I'm going to show you how to make those super easy. That is a class. What was the other one? Oh, fancy fast food. So some of our favorite fast food items like burgers and cheesesteaks and chicken sandwiches. I jazzed those up for that class. Next week, I'm going to film One Pot Wonders. By the way, I saw my son yesterday, and he and his roommate said that the tiramisu was the best they've ever had. And I did it for the class, and then I wrapped it up and brought it to my son the next day. So I don't know if they're picky or not, but apparently it was the best tiramisu, and it was very good. And you'll see, because I think that's one that people are intimidated to make, because you just like this. You see me make it in the class. It's, you're soaking the lady fingers and you're making the mascarpone cream. And by the way, that would also be a nice addition to a brunch spread, that tiramisu with this. We've got Teresa asking, can you reduce the sausage and add more egg? Absolutely. And Margaret said, what a great class. Thank you. And Midge said, thanks so much. Of course. Yes. Thanks for coming. Back to Teresa. Yes, I think that's a great idea. In fact, today when I was making it, because I've made this a bunch of times, and when I was making this one, I thought I could probably do a whole different, like the same ingredients, but just different ratio. So yes, either do a 1/4 pound of the sausage or 1/2 pound. It calls for 16 ounces. Cut it in half, cut it in 1/4, and do 2 to 3 more eggs to make up for that. 8 eggs might not be too much. 8 eggs might work. I use large eggs, by the way. But yes, if you want a less meaty one, more eggy one. And obviously you could eliminate the sausage altogether or swap in a different breakfasty thing like bacon or ham. But yes, I think definitely my next one is going to be that way. For the purposes of this class, and because I had one already pictured to show you, I kept it the same. But yeah, I think there's many different ways to do this that would be equally fabulous. Gina, have you tried making this with bacon? So I've made many different variations on the theme of this. So if I was going to do this with bacon, I would do 8 eggs and 4 strips of bacon. The process would be the same. I would cook the bacon until crisp. I'd try to keep some of the bacon grease in the pan, about 2 teaspoons. I'd cook 8 eggs in that bacon grease and then proceed with the recipe. And you can do whatever you want with the tomato. You can take the tomatoes out. You can just have eggs. But I would do similar, but I would stir the bacon in. So once the eggs are finished cooking, and whether or not you add the tomatoes, fold the bacon in, then line everything down the middle, and then add the cheese. And bacon and cheddar, like a match made in heaven. So I think that would be a great idea. 4 to 6 pieces of your favorite bacon, crisped first. That would be an excellent swap. And we'll make this, super fabulous. And then Tina wants to know, can you substitute hamburger meat for the sausage? Absolutely. Ground beef works 100%. I would do, let me think about this. The recipe calls for 16 ounces and ground beef, depending on if you're using 90% lean or 80% lean, can cook down, but a pound might be too much. I would do a 1/2 pound of ground beef, season it how you want. If you want to add sausage-like seasonings, so you've got fennel and rosemary, marjoram, salt and pepper, or you could make it Italian and just add some Italian seasoning, salt and pepper with the ground beef, throw a little bit of marinara salt. You could do like a pizza or a meatball sub type braid. That would be amazing. See, I'm going, I love the ideas because I start thinking about other ways that I could do it. But yes, you can definitely do it. You won't have that sausage-like flavor, but if that's fine for you, you could do ground turkey, ground chicken would also be great. Scarlett says, can I see the braid again? Oh, she missed the first. Oh, let's get to the old braid. This is the old braid. So you can see how these openings, when it baked, they filled in. I keep touching this piece just to make sure it sticks because this should go in the oven soon so it doesn't rise. But yeah, this will fill in, and some of the cheese you'll see some of the cheese will come out and toast up on top, making it for a very pretty presentation. But yeah, that's the uncooked braid. You can see the liquid on the pan because the tomatoes, because it should have gone directly into the oven, which it will when this live is over. It'll be fine. But that's what it looks like. Uncooked and braided. Let me know if you need to see that again. And this is the finished. Where it's all filled in, the cheese is melty, and the inside, just a little braid on top. Filling is fabulous. And again, the cheese holds everything together. Let's see. Any more questions you got for me? Bring them on. That's why I'm here. I love it. By the way, I have another live coming up in April. We're going to do spring vegetables. I'm going to do 2 dishes that showcase the best of spring. I've got a Brussels sprouts with sun-dried tomatoes. I've got asparagus. I mean, it's going to be super yummy and super colorful. And if you're going to come to that one, bring your spring vegetable questions. I love to answer those. What's in season, or what can I swap in? My husband hates asparagus. Like that. Those kinds of questions are great because it gives me stuff to work with. I can offer suggestions so you don't have to Google it. Carol says, hey from California. Hey from California. All over. We're from all over. We have Europe. We have the US. How about any more? Let's see. We've got Maryade. Is the bread sourdough? No. This particular one that I used is just Rhodes. Do I still have the bag? Yeah. I used up my last 2 loaves. This is what I used. So it's in the frozen food section. There's 5 1-pound loaves. They also have a wheat, I think. But I did mention earlier that you can use your favorite store-bought. So if you like a frozen sourdough loaf, that would be amazing. You could swap that in. If you want to use pizza dough works. Fresh pizza dough instead of, you don't have to get frozen. Because I know my store has bags, 1-pound bags of fresh pizza dough. You can certainly swap that in. But sourdough would be a really good addition if you have a sourdough loaf that you like, by all means. The only thing that won't work are those refrigerated tubes of dough, because it's not enough dough. Those are, I think, 11 ounces. The refrigerated, like I'm talking about, like the crescent roll dough and the pizza dough and the bread. Those, it's not enough dough. And they just love them for other uses. But for something like this, I feel like they break. You try to stretch the braid over and the dough breaks. So for the purposes of the braid, stick with a 1-pound bread or pizza dough and not the refrigerated tubes where you crack them open on the counter. Skip those for this preparation. And we've got Mary. Okay, you're welcome. And Baghdad, hi from Kazakhstan. Oh, I think we were just talking about Kazakhstan. My son was there last summer, and I am planning a trip in the fall. So I will be in your beautiful country within the year. So thank you for joining. Joanne says she does cabbage burger and cheese. Oh, cabbage burger and cheese inside the braid. That sounds good. Actually really good. That sounds delicious. That's a great idea. You could do that too. It's really, once you know that you need about however much filling that was, maybe we got about 2 cups of filling. You can do whatever you want with the bread dough. You can put anything in there. You can put vegetables and cheese. You can do, what Joanne does with cabbage, beef, and cheese. Once you've got the system down, you know how to braid just by slicing off 12 to 15 strips on either side. You can, the options are endless. The world is your oyster. So you can have a lot of fun with it. Mary said, awesome. She's from Melbourne. Oh, love it, love it, love it. My niece is in Melbourne, 6-month work visa, working there. So I love it. I'm so happy that you're all here from all over the world. It's exciting for me. And what about puff pastry? That question is from Tina. Not in this case. I wouldn't do puff pastry, and I'll tell you why. Um, when you fold, what's going to happen with puff pastry is the pieces that fuse together of the dough, bread dough, won't fuse together. They'll separate. So the piece, so you have your braid like this. As it bakes, the whole point of puff pastry is that it rises in the oven because of the layers of butter between the flaky pastry. That's its point, and it will separate. And you'll end up, and I've made things with puff pastry where I've tried to fold them over and I open the oven and it's open and the filling is bubbling and spilling out all over the baking sheet. So I would save the puff pastry for something else and stick with bread or pizza dough, whether it's white or sourdough or wheat, for this recipe. Puff pastry is awesome in other ways. I have a great recipe for upside down puff pastries where you cut them into squares, put something on a baking sheet. Just think it was last year's TikTok trend or 2024, where you line things up on a baking sheet, put a square of puff pastry over top so it's upside down, and you bake it. And then when you serve, you flip it over and everything underneath is caramelized and delicious. I think I did peaches and honey or something. So that's on my blog. That would be a great use for puff pastry to have that already. Hi from Fiji. Hi, Sarah from Fiji. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. My son told me yesterday that's where Survivor is filmed. So he's all hooked now. Apparently the younger generation is watching the older Survivors, if you all watched back in the day, or the new version. But yeah, he said, so it's a great way to showcase a beautiful destination, people. Yeah. How about any more questions about anything coming up? We've got Easter. Anybody have any Easter plans they need help with, or ideas of prepping ahead? What can you do in advance so that you're ready for the holiday? I'll be prepping for my Craftsy class since the crew's coming in next week. But happy to help there. And if you don't ask questions now and you think of it after, I usually see the questions here. I know this is going to go on Facebook. I always see the questions if they're posted to the Facebook link where this also airs. And on my website, there's a contact form. And I know last time I did a live class, I got a lot of questions afterwards, which was great because they found me. So my website is Robin Miller Cooks. And then there's a contact tab and you can just fill out a form and I'll get that. And my website, by the way, if anybody goes to my website, it's under construction. It doesn't look like it's under construction, but I have a developer that's been working on it for 2 months. And I think by the end of April, I will have an entirely new website. I have a new logo. I have new everything. The recipes are going to be, there's going to be a database. There's going to be a print feature, search feature, reviews, comments, shopping lists, conversions, grocery lists. It's going to be like my dream website. So if you've been to my website before and it was frustrating, I hear you. And by the end of April, it's going to be a shiny new destination where you can find recipes with ease. And for those of you in other parts of the world, it'll convert. So, it's ounces to grams. It'll convert the measurements for you so you don't have to do it yourself. So and nutrition, all the things that I've wanted, I'm finally going to have. It just took time for me to find the right designer, the right website designer that I knew could do it. So I'm super excited. My kids helped me pick out the logo. So I'm excited to share that. And hopefully by my next live, which is April 30th, it'll be live and I can direct you all there. It'll still be Robin Miller Cooks. Haley, what do you make when you don't feel like cooking? You know what I heard? I heard Padma. I don't know if you know Padma from, I guess, Top Chef. Somebody asked her that question last week. She said, what do you make when you don't feel like cooking? And I thought she had the best answer. And she said a phone call. I thought that was awesome. But that's not what you mean. Although I would easily pick up the phone and call my kids or call a friend if I didn't like it. But I'm a big fan of salads. So I will just have a huge bowl of lettuce and whatever I feel like throwing on top, whether it's pre-cooked, like leftover chicken, beans, any vegetables that I have left over, anything that I have, I'm just like pile that on top. And That's my go-to, and I actually love salads anyway, so it's not a bad thing. But there's no cooking involved; it's more of an assembly thing in a big bowl. Sometimes I'll eat directly out of the container that the lettuce came in if it's pre-washed. I probably shouldn't do that because it's plastic. But that's when I really feel lazy, or if I've been traveling and I get in late. But that is my go-to. I mean, because you can jazz up a salad in a million different ways and add protein and carbs, and I've added lentils, I've added nuts. So yeah, I feel like it's a good way to do something super quick, especially when it gets hot. 100%, 100%. That's what I love to do. Haley, what seasonal ingredients should we be using for Easter? Well, it's April, so I mean, the asparagus still looks good. I don't know where you live, but we're coming out of asparagus and we're getting into rhubarb, but I feel like the way things are coming from I mean, if you want to shop local, I would go to your local farmer's market and see what they have. They might have the fiddlehead ferns already. They might have berries that are starting to pop up, but it really kind of depends where you live. I know that rhubarb is one of those things that's coming, artichokes. But because you can get things year round now, we're talking about things that you would get locally. I'm assuming that's what you mean. So I think if you have a farmer's market you can go to, that's your best bet, because whatever they have is local, probably pesticide free and fresh and picked when it's ready to eat, not way before it's ready to eat. Because as you know, things that have to travel are picked before they're ripe. So they're not pulling as many nutrients from the soil, so they're not as nutritious, blah, blah, blah. I mean, sorry, that's bad news, but it does give us the ability to eat fresh fruits and vegetables year round that we normally couldn't. But if you've got a farmer's market, or if you have in my grocery store, there's a local section where I can see the tomatoes were local. Sometimes some of the cheese is local, especially now that I moved to the East Coast. So I would look for those things, and whatever happens to be, because we've been having some storms. I don't know where you are, but we're late blooming here on the East Coast, I think, because it's been so cold. Best telltale sign is a farmer's market or the local section of your grocery store. That was a long-winded answer. I'm sorry, but that is the truth. Yeah, Haley, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Okay, so I don't know your produce situation. I don't know but so I would say if you have a farmer's market that's starting to pop up on Saturdays and Sundays, just grab whatever they have that they're currently harvesting, and that'll be what to look out for. For me, I don't even know. I mean, I'll go this weekend and see what's fresh and new, but lately it's not been a whole lot because it's been below zero, like almost the whole month of March. So not a lot of local, but you'll get asparagus and you'll get beautiful edible flowers starting to come up. Hopefully you'll find some artichokes and some rhubarb, because you can make a rhubarb pie. Any other comments or questions or things that you need me for? Because again, you know where to find me afterwards at robinmillercooks.com or through Craftsy or through the Facebook link. That's where I usually see them, the comments for this specific class. If I missed any of your questions, you can ask it again if I happen to miss it. Oh, Ava said, how do you keep food warm while entertaining? Well, it depends what and Tina, you're welcome for the information. Ava, it depends what the food is. So it depends what it is. If it's something like a stew or whatever, and you can get those little burners, the little warming burners, what are they called? They have a little flame. And they sit in a rack. I don't know. I'm blanking it. That is one way to do it. If I'm keeping food, I mean, the crock pot is always a great way to keep food warm. Otherwise, I don't pull it all out. So it depends. I like to do more of a roll it out situation, so I can freshly, like I talked about the puff pastry. If it's better warm, I will bake it in stages. I don't like to spend a lot of time in the kitchen when I'm entertaining, so they'll be ready to bake. But I just pop it in. It's usually 10 or 12 minutes. I've got a fresh batch coming out. So I try to only prepare what I think people will eat, or otherwise I keep the big batch of things warm in the oven and on the cooktop, and then serve smaller individual, like on little serving plates, platters. That's another way to do it. Chafing dish, that's what I was trying to think of. To keep things cold, sometimes I'll have a bowl of ice and then the cold item like a coleslaw or a potato salad in another bowl, in the bowl of ice. That's helpful if it's hot. I know you asked about warm, but yeah, just kind of planning only to serve what you think will be eaten and keep things warm or uncooked until you're ready to go. I hope that was helpful. And again, when all else fails, a slow cooker is a great way to keep things like queso dip and meatballs and sauces warm all day long. And you can just keep refilling smaller containers right directly from your slow cooker. So that's another great way to do that too. Yeah. If I missed any questions and it's already scrolled past, throw it out there now, or write me afterwards. And again, I know you're all craftsy people, so hopefully you'll check out my new classes. I'm not sure when they're going to come out, but I know they've already been approved. So you'll just be on the lookout for those. And I have another, we're doing another shoot next week. I have a lot of free content too that I do for Craftsy, little recipes. And I have a whole bunch of stuff lined up next week that are going to be just recipes that are going to be out there for you that aren't part of a class, just like free, random. And another live event on April 30th at the end of April, when we're going to be talking spring vegetables. So Haley, if you want to come back, for sure, I'll be really tuned in because we'll be the end of April. We'll kind of know what's available and what we should be looking for. So I'll talk about that. Plus, I'll be working with fresh spring produce, 2 different recipes that day. And we can really dive into what we're all seeing in our local markets and what we've done with it to get creative. So if there's no more questions, I don't see any. I love that you all joined me today. I love that you're from all over the world. I really appreciate you taking out an hour for me and to make this recipe. It means a lot to me. And yeah, Haley also. All right, then I'll see you April 30th, same time, same kitchen. But yeah, so I really appreciate that you guys were here. I love sharing information with you, and I love hearing where you're all from and the kinds of things that you like to cook and eat. And so it feels like we're cooking together, which I like. So again, thanks for joining me. See you April 30th, if not before. And in the meantime, you can look for all my new stuff on Craftsy. And happy Easter, happy Mother's Day, happy spring. And thanks again. I will see you all next time.